Okay, hey, this is Stasia. I'm here with Jake.
So,
It is El Dia de la Muerte, the Day of the Dead. And I'm feeling it. So, on days like this, I like to kind of ritualize things, videos, experiences, and that just really means to make an intention that wherein the container in which we're talking or doing our thing becomes propelled by the intention, right? So usually that's like a title to a video, but for the Day of the Dead, I'm gonna say something will die. Something will die. So we talk about this death thing in other videos, and I've addressed it a lot in different ways, but it's this idea of transformation, right? Something is always transforming. I think this is one of our last videos. We talked a lot about this 2 videos ago in the Dark Night of the Soul video. So, but when you intend something is going to die, then you're saying, I'm ready to release something. And maybe I don't even know what it is, but because today is what it is, I'm gonna kind of assume that culturally and in the, I guess if you will, like the collective template, because many of us have agreed on this sort of holiday, but also seasonally, the holiday is also going into winter where something must die, right? The trees are going through a death process. A lot of the plants are going through that as well. And so it's mirroring for us, hey, this is what this time is all about. Jake's buffing up on some biology of Kundalini over here.
Sort of. I'm trying to speed read this stuff, so I'm not really like here.
Right, so in a way, our conversation has died in this video as well as he's doing this, but I've been kind of seeing these videos with you as this, in some way healing masculine feminine dynamics, because we're coming at things from different angles, and maybe
we always have talks like after the videos that like kind of become more revealing.
More revealing?
Revealing.
Yeah. That's what I said. But I'm sitting closer to the microphone too. So you can think of the feminine dynamic as the more like esoteric and nonsensical, right? The more poetic or creative aspect of the allness, and the more like structured masculine army approach to things is very like to the letter and wanting to know like the systemization of things. And so actually in an awakening process, there's not a really scientific term besides the Sanskrit Kundalini, but in the biology of Kundalini by Janet Dixon, which I read some of that on my channel, she talks about an inner conjunction, which is that peak moment where the masculine and feminine forces come together in such a way that they merge and you experience that God presence, right? You have that divine love presence. And that is what's happening biologically and in the spiritual mechanics of the body. The Ida and Pingala channels and the spine, the masculine and feminine, the Ha and the Tha, the sun and the moon, as you're working on in yoga, come from being in 2 separate locations, utilizing each nostril to being unified. And so what dies in that moment of inner conjunction is duality and like opposites.
I don't have anything to say. I'm trying to.
Yeah, I know. You're just being a presence right now, but I'm talking like at you and with you and more to the video, but I appreciate you being here. but I'm also pointing out that the conversations that Jake and I are having are, for me, like helping to look at how the masculine and feminine externally can communicate so as to bring about that same state that you can reach internally, which is, you know, communion, where you reach a place where you're in unity with how you're talking and you're able to see the value of both sides and bring it together to a single point of harmony and like weave the faculties together, because the truth is we don't want to be just masculine minded or just feminine minded. We want to come from both. We want to have both brain hemispheres communicating and talking in divine union, working as a whole brain. That's alpha brain waves. We want to be in that yoga nidra state, awake and unified with each other, not just in ourselves. So in ourself is first, and then with other people in communion is next. And so when we do that, what dies is separation, what dies is disconnection, and what is reborn is the unity consciousness that humanity is striving for in our maturation process, I think, and what yoga teaches.
I was half listening because I'm like digesting this stuff I'm reading.
Just make sure I can hear you. So, any thoughts about what you did here?
What I did here, I kind of just sat here and read these papers. I mean, I found some like neat stuff in here. There was some quotes that like kind of stuck out.
Like what?
Without the inner world, the outer world loses its meaning. Without the outer world, the inner loses its substance. Right? So, like, if you're looking at spiritual concepts and whatnot, like, you have to make sure that you have reality, the outer world, and your inner world, right?
Practical ways to apply.
Yeah, if you're only thinking about the inner world, you're going to be getting lost in nonsense. If you're only thinking about the outer world, you're not really going to see how the inner world applies. What I saw there.
Yeah, depending on what we're going through, we'll ascribe outer meaning to what's going on inside of us. I like that.
I think this here was a little bit too difficult to digest, like mentally,
in a few seconds. This whole book, Biology of Kundalini, is really dense, so I like to take it in chunks for sure. And I threw a lot at him.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of stuff in there, like at least in this chapter, is like mostly just about being able to like detach from where like whatever is going on, whatever story that I'm telling myself about what's going on, you know, it doesn't really matter. It's kind of the underlying like essence of a situation. Something bad happened, now I feel bad. Okay.
But really, like, a chemical process is going on and I'm ascribing meaning to it. And I think this is why you don't like it when we talk chakras, and I'm actually starting to see your point on that, is in some ways the chakra talk is just like a different story to tell yourself that keeps you detached from the one you like would make up that's going on. Does that make sense?
I think
so instead of being like, I feel terrible because this person did such and such, you're like, you have a chakra talk with yourself, which is like, my second chakra is going through a purging and this is how it looks in my reality.
I don't know, dude. Like, I feel like a big thing with like yoga, well, with like this stuff is to try and be able to experience more life like without words and without concepts of yourself, you know, and things like that. So whenever like you say something like whichever chakra is like going through like this kind of experience, like this is happening as a purging, I think that is also like creating a concept of what is happening in a way.
It is being a yoni yogi.
A yoni yogi, what's that?
So remember we talked about the different kinds of yoga and the different paths of yoga, and one of them is the path of knowledge, So by self-study and self-reflection is also a pathway to access the same, because the mind wants to know. So if you give your mind a story that works, that keeps it like placated, then you can reach that divine union. Unless you're like, that's why I said it's a distraction story in a way for someone who's very mental. Not everyone is mental. Like I said, my mom's a bhakti yogi. She's completely doesn't care about any of this stuff. And she wouldn't even go down the line of a chakra story. But my dad is very mental, for example, so he likes to go deep and look at all the parts. And I'm kind of like that, and some of my viewers are like that, but not everybody is, like definitely not. And some are more hatha yogis, which means you're more body conscious and you just want to like feel the experience in your body. And
that's me.
Yeah, so bhaktis and yanis, like they sometimes hang out, but they're not always like on the same page. I am a yani sometimes. I think I'm drawn to a lot of the different paths. It just depends on my mood, because I'm experiencing more aspects of myself these days, I guess. I don't know. Like I've always kind of been very all over the place Sagittarian. Like I like to try things out in all different ways. And so sometimes I just want things to be quiet and I just want to feel the energy, and sometimes I want to talk about it, or like make a dance about it, or be poetic, or write a song, or serve. If I'm feeling like particularly moved and motivated, then I feel my heart is open. So I would say my heart chakra is open and I want to serve, and that I'm a karma yogi then.
I feel like a point that you just said is like, essentially, if I'm feeling the inspiration, then I want to like go and be creative with it. I feel like that is a pretty big thing with people who are on like the yogi path. Is the ability to, I guess, bridge the gap between like inspiration and creation, or inspiration and creativity. You might see that in people who like, I feel like dancing, go and do it like without hesitation. I don't know why I feel like bringing that up. It's just,
yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it's an aspect of us expressing God's self, like a unified self is a creative self. It wants to create. Whoa. Pages are blowing away. But the spoken word and poetry and music and speaking is all a form of creativity too. So it just depends on how you look at like what your higher value is, I guess.
Should we like just pick this book and like figure out some things in there that we think are like important?
Yeah, I've read a lot of it on my channel, but I would dig that. Yeah, it's great. I like to read it and then talk about the different sections so that there's greater understanding.
There's so much to read, like it feels unfair.
I know.
This is
I know. There's so much to read, but like this is, to me, like an important evolutionary knowledge to have, because we're going to see this kind of stuff more and more. And if we keep ascribing the old paradigm to what's happening to everybody, like we're just going to like create the old world again. Like, we're just going to go crazy together. And she cautions at the beginning of this book, like if you don't know what's going on, like humanity can fail. It's not like a sure thing that everybody evolves and makes it. Like humanity can fail this and like continue in the karmic loop. That's always been an option. But there's enough awareness on the planet right now that we can evolve further at this time because the wisdom is here.
I saw this quote in there that was talking about like something, phases in life being akin to like a wave that you're surfing. I wish I could find it, but looking through these pages again, I'm like, damn it.
Akin to a wave, yeah. It really is. It's like a rising and a falling. It's just like a musical composition. I started printing this out and realized the background was going to be all black. I stopped. Anyway, so not like a really specific
We'll probably-
chat today, but
Probably have to do a second one. Something with like approvers. We're trying, we tried an experiment of just like, all right, let's start recording and just fucking see where it goes.
maybe we'll find some good stuff in here.